coming from across the pond all the way in Czechia, heading over to this event. He's had some solid finishes this year, top 16 in Birmingham, top 4 finish at the Prague Regional Championships, and he will be playing Dragapult Dusknoir up against Ross Cawthon's Slowking.
Yeah, interestingly enough, Ross has been playing for a long time. You know, he's gotten second place at the World Championships a couple times, has so many accolades, regional winner in the past, but international championships have been a bit of a stumbling block for him. This is his best finish at an IC by far. And I know, we just saw how much James cared about this, how much this, making it this far meant to him. Say, one of the competitors over the years who has not cared more about winning is Ross Cawthon. That is what drives him to keep coming back, keep playing in these events all these years later. He has the drive to win. He is one of the strongest, fiercest competitors we've ever seen. I think he's fueled always by wanting to win a world championships, but he always keeps innovating, coming up with new things, and it's really inspiring to see.
It will be Neddy kicking it off. Turn 1, going first with the Badoo in the active spot. A bench of a Dreepy attach. For turn to the Pheasantipity EX, he's placed down as well. And this perhaps provides insight into Neddy's game plan in this matchup.
Yeah, unfortunately, Neddy's hand doesn't look very good. We'll see what happens here. Yeah, there are some interesting ways you can approach this matchup as the Dragapult player. Like you mentioned, Neddy does not play Shaman, so there's no flower curtain to protect the bench. One thing you can do is limit the number of Pokemon you put into play. Then if your opponent uses Trifrost, they could, oh my, did he just draw his
He just drew Secret Box. Run errand, 2 cards from the top. He said, yep, that is pretty good. You only get to play 1 A-Spec in your Pokemon trading card game deck, and Secret Box, an excellent choice for a deck like this one. You discard 3 cards from your hand. It demands a mighty cost, but the payoff worthwhile as you're rewarded with 1 of each of the 4 different trainer cards, 1 supporter, 1 item card, 1 tool card, and 1 stadium added to your arsenal. And for Ross, that will happen this opening turn. Secret Box played right away.
Oh, that's a beautiful sight. When you're playing Secret Box, you love to have it in your opening hand. It was the key to so many decks in the previous format, Gardevoir and so many others. Whenever you drew it, you felt good. You knew things were going to go well. It is interesting in this deck. Obviously, it is very strong on the first turn of the game. It'll pretty much guarantee that Ross is able to pull off an attack on the second turn, barring any sort of hand disruption. But it's also nice to have later in the game, when you get hit by a special red card, something like that. Being able to draw into Secret Box can be a nice instant way to find all the cards you need to charge up an attack, but I'm sure Ross will not complain starting off this top 4 match with the Secret Box.
And not bad to find right here, as well as Neddy has Badoo in the active spot, so playing it immediately to ensure that he's able to get access to it before the Itchy Pollen is online. Lucky Helmet, Pokepad, Cypher Maniac's Code Breaking added now to the hand. It looks like a couple of Academy of Night in the hand already and 1 in the prize card, so not going to take another one out of the deck here. Does play the full suite of 4. Actually, 1 was discarded there, so yeah, there's access to all 4. Or all 3 available, I should say, on this opening turn in that opening hand. Pokepad will fetch out the Slowking, again playing around item lock, which he knows is coming from his opponent on the next turn. He does have the Lucky Helmet in hand. Perhaps could place it on Kangaskhan to deter Neddy from an Itchy Pollen, or at least give himself a solid benefit should Neddy item lock him.
Very true. Ross still has not played a supporter card for the turn. Looks like it might be the Cypher Maniac's Code Breaking, but as he starts to shuffle his deck, I don't know if he might consider holding on to it. Oh, kind of an interesting spot.
We'll play another Pokepad here before finishing this sequence, and does find out the Kyurem. And this is the huge card in this matchup. Trifrost, an attack that costs 5 energy, able to be used by Slowking using its Seek Inspiration attack. The combination works by using Academy at Night to place the Kyurem on top of the deck, and then you discard it with this effect of Seek Inspiration, and you're able to get that full effect, 110 damage to 3 Pokemon.
Chip, I don't think Neddy's doing much on this turn.
Oh boy.
This is not a good hand at all. Now you see he's kind of debating, didn't actually bench the Duskull on the first turn again. Maybe just making it a little more awkward, making it so that Trifrost doesn't get the full value of 3 knockouts when Ross goes for it. But Neddy just sitting on nothing here, does have the unfair stamp for when Ross does decide to attack, but not an ideal situation.
Certainly far from it, and is debating the bench of the Duskull. Will choose to go that route, and now for Ross here, there are 3 prizes right for the taking. Wow. With the draw for turn, he has a basic Psychic Energy. There is the Cypher Maniac's code breaking being played. He'll search his deck for any 2 cards, place them on top of the deck, and then the combination with Mega Kangaskhan EX's Run Errand ability will give him access to those 2 right away. And immediately finding that telepathic Psychic Energy to help aid his bench. He does need a way, of course, to move this Mega Kangaskhan EX from the active position.
Such an interesting spot. Usually, you know, when you're playing the Slowking deck, you're really trying to piece together all the different things, trying to figure out what's the puzzle here? How do I unlock getting the thing that I need? And Ross just has everything already. It's almost like, okay, I need to Cypher Maniac's code breaking for 1 card, but what is the other one? I already have everything else that I need. So what can I do to prep for something like an unfair stamp that might be coming my way? These situations can actually be pretty complicated when you're drawing too well, trying to figure out the best way to put yourself in an advantageous position.
That's a situation I wouldn't mind finding myself in. Drawing a little too well, he says, and that is what Ross seems to be doing at this point, having access to everything, not even playing a supporter on the first turn of the game, let's remember. Cypher Maniacs pieces everything together.
And I think that was a smart choice. He didn't know what was going to happen on Neddy's turn. You know, if there's a Crispin, power up Pheasantipity, knock out your benched Slowpoke, the cards you might want to go for would have been different. So Ross, I think, recognizing that and understanding I don't actually need to play a supporter card, I can just wait.
Extremely heads up indeed. He's going to piece out the full combo. Academy at Night coming into play. He'll be able to place any card from his hand on top of his deck, of course, Kyurem being the choice, and Seek Inspiration. Discards the Kyurem. 3 prize cards for Ross Cawthon, discarding both of the energy attached to his active, and Boomerang bouncing right back. 3 prizes remaining for Ross. Neddy with his back against the wall. Pheasantipity promoted. Does top deck a Pokepad to get himself another Pokemon in play, and we know Puka. Unfair Stamp is waiting in the hand.
Couldn't have drawn it up any better for Ross to start off this top 4 match. Now, that being said, this is a pretty common occurrence in this matchup. The Slowking deck will lead off with a Trifrost, get several knockouts, set the Dragapult player back pretty significantly. But this is where that unfair stamp comes in, and this is where the Slowking deck can be a little bit fragile. You are really reliant on kind of doing a big combo every turn to do an attack. You need the Stadium card in play, you need the Pokemon in your hand to put on top of your deck, you need to keep refueling with energy cards. So when your hand gets disrupted, you can encounter a situation where you don't actually do anything for the next couple turns. You get out to a nice lead, but then you give your opponent time to come back.
There is Unfair Stamp being played by Neddy. Both players sending their hands to the deck. Ross will only draw 2. Neddy still getting 5, and of course can still play a supported card this turn. He's also got access to flip the script. He only needs 1 energy card to start using Cruel Arrow and target down some Pokemon on Ross's bench. And another thing as well here, Ross did bench the Pheasantipity EX on the last turn. I wonder if Neddy will play cautiously around that and not take prize cards, not give Ross access to flip the script.
Yeah, it's got to be a long-term game plan here for Neddy. You need to assume your opponent won't be drawing anything good off of this unfair stamp, and do not take knockouts and walk into that flip the script ability. Start piling damage up on those Pokemon EX on the bench to knock them down later with Phantom Dive.
Still not a great draw off the unfair stamp. He's got a Buddy Poffin at least, but no supporter cards still. Feels incredible to have seen so many cards and not found a Lily's Determination yet. He does still have Flip the Script to have a little bit of respite and hope to find something and continue forward with his turn. Buddy Poffin only finding one Dreepy. Now 3 cards from the top. Let's see if he finds a supporter to play. Lily's Determination added to the hand.
All right, so this is really mostly what Neddy was looking for on this turn. The unfair stamp, an energy card, get another Dreepy down. Oh, and
the stadium.
Picture perfect turn for how you want to combat this aggressive start from the Slowking deck.
And this stadium does multiple things here. It gets rid of the Academy at night, so now Ross needs to find another piece, but it of course also shuts down the Mega Kangaskhan EX and its run errand ability.
I think the last thing Neddy will be looking for here is the Crushing Hammer. This is a card that has really become a big player in the standard format in the last few months. This is where you can really devastate a Slowking deck. If you can draw a Crushing Hammer here, flip heads, discard the Boomerang energy, you can really set him back.
And no, Neddy is unable to find a Crushing Hammer. He does play the full 4 copies of the card and flip through the hand. It's not there. That would have been a massive opening here for Neddy to try to find a path back in. Now, of course, Ross is still only working with 2 cards. And we're actually going to see the handheld fan. Neddy really going heavy on the energy disruption with his list this weekend. Placing that on his Pheasantipity, and now the question becomes, where does the Cruel Arrow rain down? Setting up damage perhaps on one of these EX Pokemon. KOing a Slowpoke. Neddy has a few options. Thinking through all the different lines, all the paths. Which one will he take?
Yeah, as we talked about before, knocking out a Slowpoke I don't think is a very good option here. You just give your opponent access to flip the script immediately, and they can draw out of it and perhaps just attack with Slowking again. You want to make their life as difficult as possible. So start piling up damage on something like Pheasantipity EX, or even go after Mega Kangaskhan EX. Set up these big Pokemon so that Dragapult EX can Phantom Dive and take a big multi-prize turn later.
Here comes the Cruel Arrow, and it will be Pheasantipity targeting down Ross's Pheasantipity EX on the bench. 100 damage laid onto that. Now the draw for turn on Ross's side is the Lily's Clefairy EX, another big player in this matchup. Not going to be useful here with a full bench.
Yeah, just
does
pass.
he have much else? No, passing back over to Neddy, and this is the opening Neddy was hoping for. Cloak evolved into play. Recon Directive able to be used. This is the start of a long road back into this game.
Yeah, you say that, Chip, but it's not that long of a road back. You only really need a couple turns to get a Dragapult EX into play, and once you do, Slowking can start to get into trouble. Ross has taken 3 prize cards. Usually after that, the most you're going to take in a single attack is 2. He's probably going to have to attack with Slowking 2 more times to win this game. And once Dragapult EX starts using Phantom Dive, we're going to see lots of damage counters fly all over the place. And it won't take long for Neddy to actually collect all 6 of his prize cards.
And we do see another piece of the puzzle here for Neddy with the Duskull being brought out. Now there is reason to pause when thinking of using Curse Blast in this exact instance. Of course, placing the damage counters would be nice, but giving Ross a prize card means he would just need to make 1 Lily's Clefairy to KO a Dragapult. So I wonder if we will even see Dusknoir come into play here.
Yeah, it really depends on how much time you think you might have. If you have time to evolve all the way up to Dusknoir, I think it's probably worth it. Obviously, if you bench the Duskull, your opponent top decks something big, they could just Trifrost
for the
and
game.
You lose immediately. So lots of things you need to weigh against, and Neddy deciding it's not worth the risk let's just go slow and steady here. Again, make it difficult for your opponent to actually win.
There is a draw for Ross. It's a Lily's Determination. And he also has the replacement stadium. That is massive, Kyle. That is his last Academy at Night. There are 2 in the discard pile, 1 in the prize cards. He had his last stadium, and he found the supporter to bail him out.
Not bad. Not bad at all. Of course, didn't draw anything good off of the unfair stamp. Didn't draw anything off the last draw for the turn. And finally finds a supporter card off of this one. This is a crucial turn for Ross. Needs to try to find something to put together here.
There's some psychic energy, and there is a Poképad.
Oh my.
That is how he could find himself a Pokemon to place on top with the Academy at Night.
Could find a second Kyurem.
Could target down both Dracloak. Does play the 2 copies of Kyurem. As long as it is in there, we know it's not prized. It looks like he has pieced the combo together, and he'll be able to try Frost and leave Neddy with just this lone Pheasantipity EX.
And now there is kind of an interesting interaction between the boomerang energy and the handheld fan. There were actually a lot of questions about this earlier in the day.
I'm honestly glad that you're here right now to walk through this. Please, Puka.
Yeah, it's very confusing on how this works. How it is being ruled to work at this event is, you would attack, use Trifrost, the boomerang energy comes back, and then after that, handheld fan can move the boomerang energy to a benched Pokemon. So that is how this interaction works right now. You do the attack, comes back, and then the step for checking effects that happen when your Pokemon are damaged by attacks would happen after that. So the handheld fan will get to move the boomerang energy.
Academy at Night will be used here, placing the Kyurem on top. Seek Inspiration discards that Pokemon. Down go the pair of Dracloak. 110 damage onto the active Pheasantipity. Psychic Energy to the discard, and yes, Neddy now getting to choose where to put this boomerang energy.
Yeah, and it's funny, I think if Ross got to choose, he would just not damage the Pheasantipity EX here, but you are forced to pick 3 Pokemon with Trifrost, and it will backfire.
Looks like there is just a conversation at the table with our judges about this ruling, perhaps a question from one of our players. And, with these high stakes games, there is a lot on the line. We want to make sure everything gets right. Can't fault anyone for that. So
I'll be honest, I was really hoping this would not come up today.
Well, and here it is in top 4.
Yeah.
So we'll have this little discussion, this back and forth, and figure out exactly how this interaction works. But as you've lined out for us, Puka, Neddy will be able to move this boomerang energy to something on the bench.
I do think this is one of those things as well that even most players are just like, yeah, I don't know how this works. Can someone just tell me?
Yeah.
I'll believe you either way. I can interpret
Both
this either way.
seem like reasonable rulings, to be honest.
Yeah.
So,
but it is honestly a very big decision. It has a big impact on this game.
I think Ross would love for this
Yes.
to still have the boomerang energy on it.
Absolutely. All right, well, as we get through this, obviously Neddy is in pretty difficult position to try to come back here. Down 5 prize cards, just has the Pheasantipity EX in play. At this point, really needs to hope that Ross finds nothing in the next several turns, long enough to finally get a Dragapult EX into play. That's really got to be your hope. Maybe you can find the special red card, disrupt Ross's hand again.
Yeah, it looks like we're getting just this all verified. Bit of a discussion that came up ahead of this event, as you mentioned, Puka, and there was a lot of discussion online about it. Gonna get word here shortly on what the official ruling will be. Head judge has been consulted. And we'll get word shortly on how this will work out.
Yep. Sure, no matter what, after this weekend, we'll learn the answer on how this is supposed to work out.
Yeah, well, we know how it works this weekend at least, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it is confusing because initially it was ruled the other way, and then at one point, after looking through kind of lots of precedent. It was determined it should work the other way, where the energy does get moved. So I think it's very fair that everybody should kind of get together and make sure that we're all on the same page on how this interaction will work. Yeah, it's crazy. Again, didn't think this would really come up. It takes a lot of very specific cards and attacks for this to really matter, but hey, anything can happen here, I suppose.
Yep. Yeah, I know these are the type of things that you've dealt with many times in your career, seen these unique card interactions come up, and even to this day, I know these things come up very, very regularly, and you're often someone who helps make these things happen. Where along the line do you feel like the big confusion comes in with the steps necessary to get to this point in the attack process?
Yeah, I think there's some vagueness of kind of when the boomerang energy comes back. Is it just after you process damage and then effects of attack, and then it just comes back right away? Does it come back maybe at a later step after kind of everything else involving attacks? So I think that's where some of the confusion is. It's I would say it is a little bit vague about how it's supposed to work. So my interpretation of it, though, is that it does come back, and then you process the effects that happen when a Pokemon is damaged afterwards. So that is probably where it's supposed to end up.
Order of operations.
Yeah, it's very complicated, though.
Important whenever you were, in second grade math, and important nowadays here at the biggest Pokemon TCG stage. We see our judges there giving their reasonings, and we'll get word on exactly what's being said, and it does look like we are getting confirmation that the energy will be moved. And I think that is maybe different than what was told to the players initially. It looks like they were telling Ross maybe that he was able to, and Ross said that he didn't feel like that was how it should work, and so now they're, because handheld fan is a mandatory effect as well. It's not something like experience share, and there we do see the boomerang energy has moved to the bench Pheasantipity EX.
Yeah, it will certainly make Ross's life a lot more difficult in this game to try to close things out. That could be the difference in buying an extra turn here.
Because as of now, that Slowking, I mean, it's not going anywhere anytime soon. Stuck in the active spot. Pheasantipity able to just snipe around it. Now, Ross does play a copy of Switch.
Yep.
It is a one-of copy. He's got Safer Maniacs to find it, in theory, but not a way to draw into it efficiently right now.
Yeah, and maybe Neddy signaling where his mind is here can maybe go after this Pheasantipity EX. I don't know, in this kind of situation, it feels like you're probably just going to keep damaging things and then set up for a big Phantom Dive to close out the game. That's what I would assume will happen here. But we'll see what he has planned.
Buddy Buddy Poffin being played. Neddy seeing that not many more 70 HP Pokemon left in the deck. They have all been knocked out, save for this Dreepy that he's now placing down.
Yeah, we're actually getting word that Ross actually challenged the ruling. He said his energy should be moved. So it was actually more like a good sportsmanship move, right? He argued to be in a disadvantaged situation, wanted to win the right way.
Yeah, knew how the interaction should work, it seems, and got that confirmation as the boomerang energy has moved to Pheasantipity. We do see a Monkey Dory being added now to Neddy's hand. Of course, the damage placed on Pheasantipity can be manipulated over to Ross's side, and I actually wonder if Neddy could set up for long enough to where he could take just all 6 prize cards in one turn. That would involve Ross missing out for 4 turns, something like that. It's quite a while, but there's no draw power on his side of the field.
It's going to be an awkward spot, and really your only draw supporter in the deck is the Lily's Determination. You play 4 of those. Beyond that, yikes. Now, the special red card is going to make things even more challenging for Ross, going down to 3 cards in hand.
The most impactful new card from the Chaos Rising expansion. You can only play it when your opponent has 3 or fewer prize cards remaining. And Ross is only going to draw the 3 here, and it did not look like there was much help there. I think Ultra Ball, Latias, and a Brave Bengal were offered up. And this is a spot where, you know, there's been a couple ways people have played this Slow King deck. The Boomerang Energy has kind of separated itself as the more popular and perhaps better option, but there was a while there where Power Glass was a consideration, and Power Glass really nice in instances like this one, namely against Crushing Hammers, where your opponent can get rid of all of your energy cards and try to stick a Slow King in the active spot.
Yeah, I think during an interview, maybe on the first day, Ross did mention that he had tried out all the different tools. Power Glass was one of them, and ended up really liking the Lucky Helmet as a way to combat hand disruption. Felt that was the best way to go, and yeah, you could see, you know, he kind of set himself up to, you know, be in a spot where if he got disrupted, his Slow King got hit. A lot of time we'll see like Itchy Pollen be a response, but if that happened, he would have gotten to draw 2 cards from the Lucky Helmet. So he set himself up the best he could, but again, there's so many pieces you need to attack with Slow King.
And here comes the Jamming Tower, which now, you know, why couldn't that have been in play when the handheld fan thing happened? You know, that would have been easy to figure out. But now Jamming Tower also does shut down the Lucky Helmet. So, I mean, maybe a world that he could knock out the Slow King, but I feel like going around it as it is stuck in the active spot. What does that thing have 3 retreat or is it 2 retreat? He's a little thick for sure.
Yeah.
He is not mobile, that is certain. So I think Neddy will take this opportunity to continue to spread the damage over to the bench, set up for a bigger play in the future. Monkey Dory being established as well, perhaps hinting at Adrenabrain plays to line up. And we'll see a Cruel Arrow onto the Mega Kangaskhan EX. And now Ross drawing for turn. It is a Boomerang Energy. He can attach.
Yeah, what else are you going to do? You got to attach to the active.
And he's got to just hold on and clench his fists. Hope that Neddy does not flip heads on Crushing Hammers, because here it comes. Oof. Right away, played down. The secret rare version is going to hit a heads. Takes away that Boomerang.
Going to set Ross back one more turn.
And that is the first hammer played as well, Puka. We were perhaps lamenting Neddy's lack of finding hammers early, but it may pay off for him here, as those are cards he'll be able to continue to find through the end of this game. Every single time Ross attaches an energy to this active Slow King, Neddy will have a shot at getting rid of it.
Yeah, very annoying to deal with. You know, after Ross won his top cut match against Aban, he even noted, you know, the game was still super close, even though my opponent didn't play any of these really challenging cards to deal with, like the Crushing Hammer. And so now he's running up against it, maybe his biggest challenge yet.
Pokepad played from Neddy, just perhaps thinning the deck down a bit. And speaking of thinning the deck, there are not that many cards. Less than 15, it seems, available now for Neddy. He's going to get another one out here with this Ultra Ball. Finding out Dragapult EX. Now under 10 cards remaining in the deck, it seems. He's done a really good job at getting through the deck without being able to use very many recon directives this game.
Sure has. What a strange game it's been to kick off our top 4 here. See kind of what Neddy's trying to go for, just clear out 6 prize cards all at once. If you can knock out Mega Kangaskhan EX, Pheasantipity EX, and maybe a Slowpoke all at the same time, that is all 6 of your prize cards. At this point, he's actually setting that up for next turn. If he can Adrenabrain, move 2 damage counters to the Slowpoke, then Boss's Orders onto the Mega Kangaskhan EX. Oh, that would still be a little short, actually.
He's lining it up here. 90 damage draw for turn on Ross's side is that Lily's Determination. Yet again, Lily aids Ross in a situation where he has absolutely nothing going for him. He's going to thin those other 2 cards out of his hand. Brave Bengal, Latias not going to be useful.
Yeah, and obviously if Neddy moves 3 damage counters to the Slowpoke, then you can put 1 on Pheasantipity, 5 on Slowpoke.
Yes.
Knock out Mega Kangaskhan. That's how you get to the 6 prize cards. But Ross has given himself a chance to win right here, or at the very least put a Slowking. If he can evolve both Slowpoke into Slowking,
yeah,
that could buy himself a turn as well.
It's going to need to be an impressive combination of 6 cards. He could win the game should he draw, what, Academy at Night, Switch, Wondrous Patch, Energy, and a Pokemon to put on top. That is a very specific combo, but at minimum, perhaps finding a pair of Slowking would be enough to fend Neddy off for 1 additional turn. And yes, we've mentioned it, 1 singular copy of Switch. There's the Energy, there's the Academy at Night, there is the Metagross, and no Switch able to be found. He got kind of surprisingly close.
All right, are there 2 Slowking left to evolve into at this point?
He does have Pokepad in hand. Was it just 1 Pokepad that he drew?
It's Pokepad and an Ultra Ball, yeah.
Okay, so if they're both in the deck, which I do think they should be. I think he drew Night Stretcher actually as well, so that's in the hand. I don't think a Slowking is at the discard pile. There will be the Telepathic Energy attached to the active. And he can play the Ultra Ball, but playing the Ultra Ball would mean that he would lose the Metagross, which may be a card he needs.
All right, so this could be it for Neddy if he can find everything here. But he needs those Night Stretchers. All the Darkness Energy are accounted for at this point.
They are on the bottom of the deck. He's going to play the Meowth. Does fetch out the boss's orders. If Neddy can find Dragapult EX, a Darkness Energy, and the boss, which he has now fetched, he can bring up the Kangaskhan. Phantom Dive KO it, Adrenabrain move 30 over to Slowpoke, and then take all 6 prize cards on this turn. He's having a Judge Shuffle, something we've seen become very popular amongst players in these high-pressure situations.
I think it's something like 2 of his 6 cards are Night Stretchers. He just needs to find 1.
He's going to Recon Directive in order to see these top 2 cards, and the first one right away, both of them in fact, Night Stretcher. He'll be able to retreat Pheasantipity, Night Stretcher to bring back Darkness Energy, and pull off the complete combo. From 6 to 1, Neddy finds a way to fight back. What a patient and well-played game. And boss's orders is that final piece of the puzzle. Adrenabrain to move the 30 over, and Neddy Kosek will take a 6 prize turn to take a Game 1 win in top 4.
Wow, what a comeback. Really fueled by Pheasantipity EX using Cruel Arrow for several turns. Of course, that handheld fan. Wow, what a comeback. Has to be a little frustrating for Ross in that situation, being so close to a victory. Of course, the crushing hammer hurt as well there at the end. That just shows you how much room there is for coming back in this matchup.
What resolve from Neddy in that game. An excellent game planning as well. Let's not forget what his opening hand looked like. It was 2 Dusknoir pieces, 2 Energy Special Red card, like absolutely nothing going on. Held on just long enough though in order to withstand. Pablo, tell us what you're thinking about that match.
I am baffled as to how things developed right there. It looked like a sure win for Ross. That boomerang energy interaction was so important for Neddy to be able to delay Ross's attack, and then that Slowking just got stuck there for way too long. So, I mean, the 1 copy of Switch, will that be enough? Because I have a feeling we're gonna see a very similar game 2 with an explosive start with Kyurem, and then Pheasantipity putting in the work. So Neddy finds that on first stamp quite early. Generally, I don't know if Ross can do anything other than hope for a good top deck.
I wonder if Ross, in that situation with the Pheasantipity in play, could have targeted the Pheasantipity, perhaps instead of the Badoo, perhaps instead of the Duskull.
Even a Dreepy. Leave a Dreepy. That's fine. If there's no rare candy, 1 Dreepy is okay. If you can pull off back-to-back Kyurems, that's not too bad.
And then that way deals with the Pheasantipity, while also again on the next turn dealing with...
Head into this crucial game 2.
Game 2 is underway, and Ross with the start of the Kyurem. That is not what you want to see. Maybe back at Worlds 2024 when your opponent might have played a Courses Experiment, you wouldn't minded to see this, but right now in this situation, Kyurem in the active spot, not what Ross wants.
Yeah, I don't see any Courses tenacity in Neddy's deck list, so I don't think this Kyurem will be attacking anytime soon. Yeah, this is debatably your worst starter with this deck. Meowth EX may be slightly worse, but starting with Kyurem feels especially bad because that's one that you don't have access to put on top of your deck to attack with later in the game. So now you're just going to be limited to the one Kyurem. You're going to have to Night Stretcher it back if you want to attack with it again. This is one of the downsides of this Slowking deck. Sometimes you start with the Kyurem, and it really puts you in an awkward situation.
Pokepad, Ultra Ball, both being played here for Ross in this opening sequence, and has to commit this Ultra Ball to a Meowth EX, using that last ditch catch to search out a supporter card. He does know that Neddy plays the Team Rocket's Watchtower, and he also knows Neddy has Badoo, so playing around all of the different cards that Neddy could utilize next turn, so that he can guarantee himself an opportunity to at least make something happen. But no Kangaskhan on turn 1, I think, is the big miss here for Ross Cawthon.
Yeah, I'm not sure if he has an energy attachment either. In that situation, it really limits your options for what you can do on the second turn. You really need to get an energy down, because if your opponent uses Itchy Pollen, you won't be able to use Wondrous Patch to power up Slowking in a single turn and misses an energy.
That is a huge miss as well for Ross, already down a game, and now with the poor start in game number 2. We'll see how he keeps his resolve. We'll see if he finds a way to fight back on Neddy's side. We look at the prize cards, and Unfair Stamp being prized is not ideal on his side of the board. Also a Jamming Tower is a way that he could maybe get around the Lucky Helmet triggers, but perhaps more importantly, a way to just bump Academy at night, not give Ross continual access to his own stadium.
Yeah, looks like Ross has a Night Stretcher in the prize cards as well, so it will be extra difficult to use Kyurem multiple times in this second game. We'll see what Neddy does this time around. Seems like there's a bit more to play with this time. Can access the Badoo right away. Seems like there's at least an Ultra Ball, which can grab something like a Meowth EX, get a supporter card. So we should see a much stronger start from Neddy in the second game compared to the first.
There is the Badoo being found from that Pokepad, and now energy attached to the active Duskull will mean that Pokemon can retreat and that Itchy Pollen will be utilized. Ultra Ball does discard that ever-powerful Crushing Hammer, but it's what had to happen if Neddy wants to play this game. Meowth EX, last ditch catch into the Lily's Determination.
Yeah, like I just would have flipped tails on that one anyway, so may as well discard it.
You know how many people actually think like that? A lot. Yeah. Lily's Determination here in this opening sequence for Neddy, very strong to find, of course. He will get 8 cards, and we saw him really, abuse the use of that supporter in the last game. It's really what kept him in the game, just being able to draw 8 cards throughout the duration all the way to the very end. Really kept him in it, just giving him access to resources to stay alive in that game.
I'm sure Neddy will be looking for a Buddy Poffin off of these 8 cards, or just a way to get Dreepy.
There it is, Buddy Poffin found right away. Also Dracloak already available, so his next turn is lining up pretty nicely as well. And with the Kyurem in the active spot for Ross, Neddy is probably feeling confident that an attack from Ross will be unlikely. It's impossible next turn after an Itchy Pollen, but even a turn 3 attack with a Trifrost seems unlikely with a Kyurem in the active spot.
Yeah, and that doesn't necessarily mean Ross can't win the game. The Kyurem play is nice. Obviously, you take out a lot of your opponent's Dreepy set them back quite a bit. It's not really the only way to win. We actually saw Ross play against a Dragapult deck that was playing Shaman, I think, earlier in the tournament, and he was able to work around that and still win the matchup anyway. So there are multiple routes to victory when you're playing this Slowking deck. Remember, at the heart of it, it is a single prize Pokemon that can knock out Pokemon EX, so there is room for coming back.
The draw for turn on Ross's end. Pokepad not able to be played thanks to the Itchy Pollen, and Blue's Determination will immediately send the hand into the deck. Now, I do think I noticed a Slowking there in the hand. Chose not to evolve his Slowpoke, Buka.
Yeah, Slowpoke is strangely safe in the beginning turns of the game and has two somewhat relevant attacks. You can actually use that Dangle Tail to get back a Pokemon you may have discarded off of an Ultra Ball to set yourself up for the next turn, and even Tackle just knocks out Badoo and keeps energy on the Slowpoke so that you can evolve into Slowking on the following turn. Sometimes it's better to just keep it as a Slowpoke. Ross needs to find energy here and needs that one. Telepathic Psychic Energy. What a strong card, and really one of the reasons why this deck flows so smoothly.
You can attach it to his Slowpoke, and he'll be able to search his deck for 2 Psychic Pokemon and put them directly into play. For a long time in the Pokemon TCG, Capture Energy was one of my favorite cards. It did so much for you, supplied your energy for turn, and found you basic Pokemon. I know, Puka, back in your competitive days as well, Call Energy was a staple for so many years. Telepathic, a bit of a callback to both of those powerful set-up-based energies.
Yeah, and one of the reasons it's so effective is it works even through Itchy Pollen. It's not an item card. Just attaching an energy lets you go search for 2 basic Psychic Pokemon, put them onto your bench. It's such a great consistency tool. One thing I do want to call out here is in the first game, Neddy really didn't push too hard to go for that Dusclops and Dusknoir with those Cursed Blast abilities. Seeing how slow Ross's start has been, he's really shifted gears and might be playing for more of one of those classic Dragapult Dusknoir board wipe situations where you use a bunch of Cursed Blast abilities, try to knock out all of your opponent's Slowking and Slowpoke in play. So I think Neddy realizing he has time to do that this game.
An impressive adjustment, I would say, from Neddy, making that change on the fly, capitalizing on the situation and immediately placing 2 Dracloak into play, evolving his pair of Dreepy. Ready to use Recon Directive, but not before the flip of a Crushing Hammer, and it is a heads, discarding the Telepathic Psychic Energy.
That one was massive, Chip. That's going to guarantee that Neddy's Dracloak are safe on the next turn. There won't be a Trifrost. This still could have been a bit of a perilous situation if Ross was able to use that Trifrost on the next turn, but no, now it won't be possible.
A massive flip for Neddy, and perhaps one that will propel him forward to Championship Sunday. He's got to keep his head on straight, though. There is still a lot of Pokemon yet to be played. Dusclops found from the Recon Directive introduces the possibility of Cursed Blast options. Crispin will set himself up nicely to attack with a Phantom Dive on the next turn, and I have to imagine Itchy Pollen will continue to be his route here, as he wants to guarantee that Ross cannot piece anything together. Another big miss for Ross, I would say, so far has been the lack of Kangaskhan in the active.
Yep.
There is no good consistent draw in this deck outside of the run errand. And while, yes, Telepathic Psychic is great to get out the Latias, get another Slowpoke, I'm sure Ross wishes he could have found a way to get out a Kangaskhan as well.
Yeah, I mean, this is perfect for Neddy. You're under no pressure. You're using the Itchy Pollen to slow down your opponent. You're going to set up your Dragapult EX for the following turn. Already have a Dusclops out, can get Dusknoir next turn. Ooh, this is looking rough for Ross.
He's prepped up both Dracloak as well. Now either of them able to attack next turn. Itchy Pollen scratches onto the Kyurem for 10 more. And Ross, have to see what he can piece together. Does he have any playability out of his hand currently? Looks like something to the front. Cypher Maniac's code breaking, and with no Kangaskhan available, that means this is a very slow play. Ross is setting up for something to draw next turn, Puka.
Yeah, I know it's slow king, but you can't go this slow, Chip. You got to put on some pressure eventually. If you let Dragapult EX set up without any pressure, things just generally don't end well.
No pressure has been applied from Ross thus far. Neddy able to set up exactly as he wishes, and no pressure will be applied here with the slow-paced Cypher Maniac supporter being his play this turn. So Ross will stack these top two cards on, these two new cards on top of his deck and give himself something powerful to do next turn, but has not been able to be aggressive, has applied no pressure, and Neddy has fully capitalized.
Yeah, we'll see if Ross has an energy attachment for the turn. Oh.
He does have the boomerang energy.
Okay.
So he's got something, but with the Dusclops on Neddy's bench, with energies already attached to Dracloaks, and with the fire energy we know he has in hand, it is very likely that that Slow King that has now been evolved up will not be hanging around on this next turn. But I will take a pause here as Neddy's hand does not look the strongest. He'll kick off with a Recon Directive. Looks like he just had Dawn, a couple Dragapults, energy or two.
It's really close. I think if Neddy finds a Night Stretcher, it's going to be a massive turn. Did just discard one Dusclops earlier, which I think is what is saving this from being a complete disaster for Ross. But we do see the Dust Noir come out, and that can just knock out the Slow King straight away.
Yeah, no Phantom Dive necessary for Neddy. If he can just use the Curse Blast and deal with the Slow King on its own, it's not necessary to place damage counters in any other way. We do see Crushing Hammer and the Team Rocket's Watchtower off the draw here. Now, this is a situation where Neddy could perhaps think about, what did Ross put on top of his deck? He's not done much of anything. Maybe Kangaskhan is the Pokemon he laid up top, along with another good card to draw for turn. Rocket's Watchtower would be a nice response if that's the route Ross went.
Very true, and we do see the Cursed Blast coming in, putting 13 damage counters on that Slow King, taking a knockout.
Neddy does take a prize card, but it was not the Night Stretcher down at the bottom. So close. Takes the Lily's Determination right next to it. Ross also, of course, awarded with a prize card there, that Telepathic Psychic Energy. Neddy evolving into his Dragapult EX. Phantom Dive, ready to go.
Yeah, but unfortunately, now Ross is back to having no energy cards in play. Neddy still doesn't have to be aggressive here, can just use Itchy Pollen one more time, maybe try to set up a play for next turn, can maybe just play like a Lily's Determination, try to draw into Boss's Orders for on the following turn. Now there's no reason that you really need to do anything on this turn besides Itchy Pollen once again.
Looks like Neddy is debating an Ultra Ball, perhaps wanting to start working on his next Dracloak. Another Dreepy could hit the field here. We do see a Dragapult and a Dawn both going down. Searching out any Pokemon that he would like. And indeed, Dreepy is the choice.
I think we've seen great patience from Neddy so far. Seems to have a very strong understanding of this matchup. What can he do here to keep his advantage in this situation? Does play the Watchtower.
How has he not played a supporter yet?
Yeah, I know.
He's done so much this turn, and yet somehow a supporter card had not yet been played, as Lily's Determination will close out his sequence here, sending the hand to the deck. I think actually it was the last card in his hand, and now he will draw 6 new cards.
And again, I think this is mostly a setup for the next turn. Trying to draw maybe a Boss's Orders for the next turn. Maybe trying to draw into Night Stretcher so you can get that Dusclops, set up some big plays. I would be surprised if we saw anything besides another Itchy Pollen here, but we'll see. It might depend on what Neddy drew off of this Lily's Determination.
Pokepad finding out a Dracloak. Add that to the hand, and while it may seem safe for Neddy to start attacking with his Dragapult, it is technically possible for Ross to respond and KO the Dragapult, be it with some Slowpoke, Slowking combination, or be it with the Lily's Clefairy EX. So will Neddy play cautiously yet a little bit longer, remain patient, and continue up with the Itchy Pollen? I think this may be the debate he's having right now.
Oh, he is going to pounce. Here comes Dragapult EX. Maybe determining, Ross did put 2 cards on top of the deck, maybe assuming another Itchy Pollen was coming. And maybe Neddy trying to get a read here, being aggressive instead. And let's see, what did Ross put on top of his deck?
That is going to be a huge reveal here in just a moment. And perhaps Neddy feeling safer to do this play, because I do not believe Ross has a basic Psychic Energy in his discard pile. I think it's just been Telepathics and Boomerangs thus far, so it feels very difficult for Ross to piece together a knockout this turn. He would have to find a way to discard a Psychic Energy and find the Lily's Clefairy or Slowking and find a way to get that Pokemon rolling. He's going to send up the Meowth after it gets hit from the Phantom Dive, and it was a Lily's Determination placed on the top of Ross's deck.
Okay, so now the item cards are unlocked for Ross. There are several options he can go for here. Obviously, he's going to need to draw a combination of cards in some way or other. Let's see what he decides is the proper route. You have to think Lily's Clefairy EX has to be part of the equation. But now look at how many kind of low HP Pokemon EX he's had to put onto his board. There's so many targets for Neddy to go after, especially when you factor that Dusclops into the mix that can come in later to drop 5 damage counters onto a Pokemon. That Meowth EX can be in danger later.
Neddy has set himself up to win in 2 attacks regardless of what Ross does. KO a Lily's Clefairy, place 6 on Meowth, and KO or just hit into whatever Ross has in his active spot, and 6 more damage counters on Meowth leads to Neddy's 6 prize card map. Telepathic Psychic Energy was found for Ross. Was able to attach it to Slowpoke, brought out another Slowpoke and a Lily's Clefairy, evolved into Slowking, found off of a Pokepad, and now the Lily's Determination will just be for 6. A benefit as well of Neddy using the Curse Blast does mean Ross only gets 6 here as opposed to the 8 he would like.
I'm trying to think what would be the ideal attack for Ross to use on this turn, and I think it's still Trifrost. If you can knock out the Duskull, the Dracloak, the Dreepy, go down to 2 prize cards, your opponent wouldn't have a way to necessarily win.
If there's a way to do it, it's probably unlocked through the secret box, and there is already a basic Psychic in hand. Academy at Night found as well. That is a way to discard a basic energy. And the Academy at Night available.
Yeah, he can find a Night Stretcher.
To get back the Kyurem. Now, something to consider as well here, Puka. It is possible for Neddy to win the game on the next turn with the 6 damage counters he placed on Meowth, and with Ross placing Lily's Clefairy EX into play. Should Neddy find Boss's Orders use Dusclops, he would be able to take all of his 4 remaining prize cards.
Yeah, I think that's why you have to go for Trifrost here with the Slowking. Knock out the Duskull and take away that play. You'll go down to 2 prize cards as well. Then you would just need to knock out the Dragapult EX to win.
Hold on a second here, Kyle. In game 1, it was Neddy Kosek finding a way to keep his resolve and fright back and find an improbable path back into the game. And now in game number 2, is that going to be true for Ross Cawthon? Still an uphill battle, but he has played the secret box. He's put that Psychic Energy down. He already has the Wondrous Patch in hand to offer up that acceleration. And Brave Bengal, the Pokepad, the Academy at Night, all found from secret box, will piece together whatever Pokemon Ross wants to use to copy with Seek Inspiration.
Whew, what a draw for Ross off this Lily's Determination. You have to wonder if Neddy, now regretting getting aggressive with the Phantom Dive, could have played it a little safer with the Itchy Pollen. This is what can happen when you take a small risk like this. Opens the door for your opponent. I'll be curious to see which Pokemon, which Pokemon will Ross go after here. Dracloak is the easy one, Duskull the other easy one. There is an argument for Badoo to maybe take away that Itchy Pollen. Or will he go for the Dreepy just to cut off any potential recon directives? Not sure how strong Neddy's hand is here.
Here is the Seek Inspiration. There is the Trifrost, and indeed, down goes the Dreepy, trying to cut Neddy off of his draw. Ross finding a way back into the game, jumping ahead in the prize race. I don't think I would have expected this to happen, Puka, based on the opening turns, but somehow these players find a way to impress us, and Ross has been doing it for...
That's not a great hand, Chip. That's not a good hand for this situation at all. There's no special red card. The unfair stamp is still in the prize cards.
No Pheasantipity in order to draw more cards. Neddy not left with much. And Ross is going to be able to keep his hand that he built up last turn through the use of Secret Box. And all Ross needs here to close out the game is a Lily's Clefairy to KO Dragapult EX. Now, what will Neddy do to get around this, perhaps? So now, this is a spot where players could capitalize on list knowledge, right? Neddy knows Ross is 60, had a moment to look over it before the game. Pretty uncommon anyways to see Boss's Orders in a Slow King deck, so maybe he would move his Dragapult to the bench and use Itchy Pollen for a turn, try to reestablish, try to bide time to find that special red card. We'll see what route he goes. He's attached a basic Darkness Energy to Meowth, and he will go for Lily's Determination as his supporter.
Yeah, it's going to be so awkward. We do know Ross does have that Zera Aura, which could be a way to go after the Meowth EX. I wonder if Neddy's trying to set up some sort of play where he gets the Meowth out of play? Is that even realistic at this stage?
I mean, he's now just a Crispin away, and he did bring an energy back with that Night Stretcher, so Crispin more live after the Lily's Determination.
I suppose the other thing you could do is just Jet Headbutt 70. Don't take the knockout. Force your opponent to have a switch. It's a way to kind of set up multiple knockouts for the following turn.
Yeah, the cost of Ross's Trifrost last turn, of course, was to discard all the energy from the Slow King, and he did not have a Boomerang energy attached. So as of now, that Slow King is just kind of stuck waiting in the active, as we saw through the majority of Game 1.
I do believe that switch is still left in the deck for Ross, so that play is available if Neddy does not go for the Itchy Pollen. So many difficult decisions at this stage.
Neddy's got the Pheasantipity in hand, so he could bench it, but then that's 2 targets for Zeraora, so getting the Meowth out of play doesn't seem worth it ever if he does want to go that route, but perhaps he wants to dig for something else here this turn.
Yeah, what's he digging for, though? uses the Academy at night.
And this is really smart. I think he just put an energy on top of the deck. So this will unlock the ability for Crispin in the future. He is going to go with the Phantom Dive here, Puka. He's going to place 6 damage counters onto the Meowth EX, and Ross Cawthon could win the game this turn. He does need to find, does he need 2 more bench Pokemon here? There's a Slowpoke, there's a Kangaskhan, there is 1 Boomerang energy. I think he may just need a Wondrous Patch, and he'll be able to take down this Dragapult EX and take his final 2 prizes.
I think Ross is really close.
It's going to come down to what he draws from this Lily's Determination. He's got the Pokemon to thin out of his deck. He'll place them into play. He's also got an Ultra Ball to thin even a little bit further. He can get a Slow King out of the deck and evolve it. So thinning as much as possible. And
you can flip the script. He can go for Pheasantipity EX in this situation. There was a knockout taken.
That's a great point. That's a great point. Pheasantipity is on the table here. He does play 3 Wondrous Patch. I do believe just 1 has been utilized this game, so only 1 in the discard pile, 2 still available. and flip the script has been found.
Yeah, and this is one of those really tricky situations. How do you want to sequence this? As it stands right now, Ross is really close to finding a knockout here, but you may want to do the Lily's Determination and then flip the script afterwards. Maybe you just commit to attaching to Lily's Clefairy. Make it so that all you have to draw is the Wondrous Patch to win the game.
Go all in on this play, but no, Ross will use Pheasantipity EX, and right away the first card is that Wondrous Patch. The Psychic Energy is in the discard pile, and he's got it all lined up, bringing that Psychic Energy back, attaching the Boomerang Energy, benching one last Pokemon, and Lily's Clefairy's Full Moon Rondo takes down Dragapult. We're going to Game 3.
It's not done yet, Chip. Ross Cawthon ties up the series. Two just bizarre back and forth games. Both players had massive leads and blew them in both games so far.
My goodness.
What is going to happen in our third game?
Everything's going to go perfectly according to plan. Nobody is going to have to find some massive path back in. That's the only thing that seems fair after the two incredible games we just witnessed. What resolve, what patience, what... I am at a loss for words here, Puka, at these two players just sticking that game out for each of them. Game 1 for Neddy, all but over, found a way back. Game 2 for Ross. His tournament run was over.
Yeah.
He may have been looking for the prize pickup wall, and he no longer needs to do that. He's headed for Game 3.
You can see a change in body language as well. After that first game, Neddy looked very confident, very poised. And after that second one, shaking his head, realizing that one just slipped away. Both of these players will have to stay focused as we go into this third and deciding game to see who advances to the finals.
And that is right. One more game does send one of these players to Championship Sunday. Incredible stories all around. Would love to see either of these players, of course, competing in our Championship Sunday, but it can only be one of them.
And I'm curious, Pablo, what do you think were some of the key moments of this game?
I mean, it feels like the story so far is don't get ahead, right? Like, Neddy had so many free turns of Ichipollen, so many turns to establish a board. Maybe he didn't do it enough. I needed to evolve into more Dragapults, just have those set up, protect from a possible Kyurem. Got a little overconfident, and then Ross was able to capitalize on that. So if you're gonna get ahead, whether you're Ross or Neddy, you need a very strong board behind your attacker, because you know as soon as there's item cards or as soon as there's a KO, there's gonna be a strong response from your opponent.
What a set we have experienced thus far. And let's not forget, folks, this is just our first of 2 top 4 matches this evening. And now, Puka, there is one other factor to throw into the mix. 12 minutes left on the clock. That certainly could become a factor here. We have seen 2 extremely grindy games up to this point. I think it is pretty likely that we find ourselves in a +3 turns situation.
We will certainly see, Chip. We're kicking off game number 3. Neddy will be going first. Once again, Ross with a much better starter in this game. Not the Kyurem this time, but the Latias EX. Nice one to start with. Does have that flexibility with the Skyliner ability, so hopefully we see a great third game here.
And a bit of an update to our timer, adjusted for that judge call. 16 minutes now for this game number 3. Neddy with the prize cards, a pair of Lily's Determination. Not ideal, but yes, that Team Rocket's Watchtower may slow Ross Cawthon down. Of course, Kangaskhan's run errand ability extremely important for his Dex draw engine. Though it wasn't a problem in game number 2, didn't use that ability one single time. He also does have 4 Academy at Night to potentially get this Disruption Stadium out of play.
Yeah, I mean, it does stop a potential Meowth EX. If you did have, the Mega Kangaskhan EX, it could stop you from drawing some cards with that. Wow, having it in the opening hand is so big for Neddy. It could potentially slow Ross down.
And I actually think it is a huge deal. It seems like all Ross really had in this opening hand was a Mega Kangaskhan. He also did have Cypher Maniac's code breaking, So that would have been a really strong combo to piece together whatever he wanted here on this opening turn, but the one piece missing is the replacement stadium. So Neddy finding that one of Team Rocket's Watchtower, very fortuitous, as Ross will use his telepathic psychic energy, bringing out a pair of psychic Pokemon with Latias EX already in play. And a Slowpoke in the prizes. We'll see what he brings down. It looks like Lily's Clefairy is going to join the mix very early here.
Yeah, I have to wonder. It looked like there was a mulligan. I wonder if Ross drew the Mega Kangaskhan EX off of that, because obviously that is your preferred starting Pokemon with this deck, using that Run Errand ability. Now, it is a little bit annoying that he will not be able to use it this turn, but I do think this Cypher Maniac, his code breaking, will set Ross up for a pretty strong second turn of the game. You can, if your hand is really weak, you can just put like a Lily's Determination on top, or you could just put Academy at Night on top and just retreat into Mega Kangaskhan EX, and then make sure you can use that Run Errand on the next turn to draw into the other card you put on top. So, yeah, I think it's not ideal, but there's options to work with.
It looks like the two cards he put on top, and we haven't seen the finalized order just yet, were Lily's Determination and Cura.
Yeah, that's something you can do sometimes. You'll draw that next card next turn, and then you'll have the Kyurem on top of your deck to use Seek Inspiration if you already have Slowking in your hand.
And this plan, of course, could be derailed with the flip of a Crushing Hammer on Neddy's side. Of course, something Ross must be cautious of. He will still retreat into his Kangaskhan and pass it over to Neddy with the Dreepy and the active energy already attached. There is a Dracloak with a Recon Directive, another Dreepy, and a Buddy Poffin, which can, get that Dreepy right back, as well as perhaps a Badoo to use Itchy Pollen.
Yeah, so far so good for Neddy. We'll see if there's a supporter card in hand. I think I saw one. I think ideally you'd want to play something like a Lily's Determination, draw 8 cards, just get things into your hand. Looking at an Ultra Ball, but you have to discard 2 Crispin?
It would be very costly to do so. He does play 3 Crispin. We did see the third copy was in the deck, and he
so bad,
is going to do it.
Especially if you're planning to retreat off your only energy this turn. Now, we have seen that these games do kind of slow to a grinding halt at some point. So maybe Neddy recognizing, I don't really need Crispin that much. Maybe I need 1 at one point. It's okay to get rid of these. It's far more important to just set up as many Dreepy as I can.
And this is also one of the potential responses to a Kyurem, is just having all of your Dreepy available. None prized here for Neddy, getting the full 4 into play at this early juncture of the game. And Lily's Determination does find him at 8 cards. And perhaps most importantly is this Crushing Hammer, as he does roll and does indeed flip aheads. Gets rid of Telepathic Psychic, and now Ross needs yet another piece of the puzzle next turn.
That's another way to slow things down so you don't need Crispin. Just discard energy off your opponent's Pokemon. You see Neddy now taking a second to think about this. You would have assumed it would be a pretty quick retreat into the Badoo. Use Itchy Pollen. Looks like that will be the case, but just discarding the Darkness energy, since that won't really be relevant in this matchup.
And again, with the use of Itchy Pollen here, Neddy is guaranteeing that a Trifrost cannot be used by Ross. The only way for him to get 2 energy cards into play would be through the use of a Wondrous Patch. He would also, of course, need to find a way to discard a Psychic Energy. All of those ways are item-based.
Yep, so now Neddy is back in this kind of controlling position, knowing that Ross is unable to put on any pressure again. And he'll have at least another turn to keep setting these Pokemon up and try to pick apart Ross's Pokemon later with that Phantom Dive attack. Also did see Neddy has the Unfair Stamp in hand. Did not have access to that in game number 2. And I'm sure is going to be holding on to that, waiting for the right turn to use that at a later point.
Does not have a very strong hand here. Perhaps why we saw the aggressive find of the second Dracloak. Just looking to try to churn through the deck a little bit more efficiently. Ross, of course, drawing that Lilies that he placed on top last turn. And we see he had things set up. Yeah, what a top deck. There it is, attach of the Psychic for turn, and Lily's Determination will still yield him that full 8.
Yeah, if you're Ross, I mean, you've proven that slow and steady can win in this matchup as well. Things probably could not have looked any more grim for him in that previous game, and he just found a way to stay in it as long as possible. Again, Slowking has access to such powerful attacks. If you're able to just chain them together, you can find ways to win even from disadvantageous positions. This Psychic Energy does represent a threat on the following turn. It's going to force Neddy into another challenging position where he may need to find that Crushing Hammer once again.
And a big find for Ross was that Academy at night, not necessarily to utilize the stadium this turn, but simply to start getting through his deck. Run Errand now online, able to be used, drawing him 2 cards from the top, getting him closer to powerful combo pieces. And while there is no attack this turn, Ross is beginning to threaten a lot of what Neddy could do. And this is a big turn here for Neddy. I feel like he may feel the pressure to find a Dragapult EX, but not before the flip of a Crushing Hammer, and this one does fall tails.
Huge for Ross here as the Crushing Hammer does not succeed this time. We'll see if Neddy tries to dig for more of those.
I don't think he has a draw supporter right now, Puka.
Oh no.
He also does not have a Dragapult to protect his investment of this energy onto Dracloak. And with the flip of the tails and the Crushing Hammer, it's very likely that Ross will piece together the Kyurem attack. He has no replacement stadium. He has no draw power, no Dragapult, no Ultra Balls.
Yeah, Neddy went to take the Buddy Buddy Poffin off this Recon Directive, but has access to Meowth EX. Ross got rid of the Team Rocket's Watchtower, so he could use Meowth to go search for a Lily's Determination here now.
He will keep the Meowth, and indeed, down it comes. Last ditch catch. Nope, just kidding, it was a Pokepad.
Let's do the Recon Directive first. I think Neddy will be looking for a Crushing Hammer, or maybe just even finding a Lily's Determination off of this.
Here is that Recon, and there is a Crushing Hammer offered up. Yet another huge flip. It was heads for the first one, tails for the second, and heads for the third. Down goes this Psychic Energy, a breath of fresh air for Neddy.
You can see both players' different reactions there. Neddy, a sigh of relief. I'm safe for one more turn. Ross, maybe a breath of frustration there, knowing he's set back one more turn.
And I wondered if Neddy would feel confident to hold off on the Meowth after flipping that heads, knowing he's safe, but will still fetch out this supporter. I guess, you know, drawing 8 cards doesn't seem too bad. Well, having a think, though, here, Puka.
I do enjoy drawing 8 cards.
He is debating, perhaps, if the Lilies will be his supporter of choice here. What else could he be considering? Dawn guarantees a Dragapult, but the one Crispin could set his energies up.
Yeah, maybe he just wants to kind of guarantee getting enough energy in play to use Phantom Dive on the following turn. I don't know. It's an interesting spot here. I certainly would have assumed Lily's Determination would be the pick here. One other thing to note, I mean, in this situation, now Neddy has no open bench spaces, so we definitely won't see Dusclops, Dusknoir come into play on this game. There's also currently no space for like a Pheasantipede EX. One of that could potentially open up any interesting lines of play for Ross.
Grabbed out the Crispin and will play this supporter card. Powering up a pair of Dracloak here. Interesting that he felt pressured to get these energies in play after removing Ross's from his side of the field, as we do. We'll now tick up to 8 minutes on the clock. Looks like another adjustment made here. It does look like there has been a warning given to Neddy, a 2-minute extension given to these players, and a warning for pace of play.
Obviously, this is a tense moment here. The winner moves on to Championship Sunday. For Neddy, it will be maybe the first time in the finals of a major event for the Pokemon TCG. For Ross Cawthon, it's an opportunity to maybe capture an international championship victory, add something huge to his resume, to his legacy as one of the greats that we've seen here in the Pokemon TCG. There's so much pressure here. You just want to think through all of your plays. Don't want to have any regrets later.
Lily's determination played once again. Bit of a stalemate in this opening sequence here. The game has grinded to a halt. Neddy's hand is not great. He does have the 3 recon directives to support himself next turn, but he's going to need to find a way to make something happen here. He does know he is safe at least this turn, right, with the energy now just having been attached, and that is a nice arsenal to work with for Ross. Secret Box, Zera Aura, Slow Kings, and he still has access to that run errand ability. Out comes the Lily's determination and another Pokepad. Ross can do just about whatever he wants next turn as these items are unable to be played right now, and he is going to retreat his Mega Kangaskhan into a Slowpoke here and pass over to Neddy.
Interesting. Maybe wanting to force up boss's orders to get a big attack off. Doesn't mind if a Slowpoke goes down, but if your Mega Kangaskhan EX gets hit for 200 damage, that could present an issue later.
Lots of openings here for Neddy. Dragapult found from his second recon. He also has boss's orders in the hand, so he could go after maybe that Lily's Clefairy EX, maybe the Slow King that Ross has invested a bunch of effort into. See which route he goes. It's kind of tough to decide what to boss here, as Ross could make either of the other 2 Pokemon very reasonable threats.
Ooh, we're going to see 2 Dragapult EX come into play. This is going to make the attacks pretty awkward for Ross at this point. Trifrost can get 3 prize cards still, but you're still going to have to make your way through 2 Dragapult EX eventually. So this may force Ross into more of a traditional 2-2-2 prize map where he has to go through potentially 2 Dragapult EX and then maybe finish off the Meowth EX later.
He can technically 2-hit KO the Dragapult with Lily's Clefairy being in play, right? He could Trifrost for 220 into that Pokemon, but then he would need to attack it once again while it's in the active spot. Of course, it's protected on the bench by Terra.
Yeah, that's very risky because they can just retreat, and then you won't be able to go after it later. Boss onto the Lily's Clefairy. Neddy deciding it's time to take prize cards.
And down goes that Lily's Clefairy, and now the decision where to place these damage counters. And the decision for Ross will be how to respond, and we know he is sitting on a strong grip of cards. There is Secret Box in the hand. There are Pokepads. There are plenty of energy. He will be able to respond however he wishes. Neddy finding fire energy off the prizes. That is excellent, as there were 2 prized.
I think if you're Ross here, you want to attack with the Pokemon that is already damaged. You want to evolve that Slowpoke into Slow King. Try to power that one up and force your opponent to continually have boss's orders in order to take advantage of those damage counters on the bench.
Another way Ross can set up whatever he wants is through the use of Cypher Maniac's code breaking. That one of Rocket's Watchtower going down means that Run Errand online for the remainder of this Game 3. And let's also keep our eye on the clock as we do tick under 3.5 minutes here.
I do wonder what Ross will go for on this turn. It does have the option of the Brave Bangle plus Metagross. That's a way to hit for 330 damage without having to put a Lily's Clefairy EX. A small Pokemon EX that could be knocked out later. Oh, there's so many decisions to be made here still. Neddy is just so fortified at this point with multiple Dragapult EX.
If Ross can just KO this Dragapult, KO the next Dragapult, Neddy actually does not have a way to make a 3rd Dragapult in that singular turn. Yes, he is out of Crispin here. Let's see if Ross can key into that. He is going with a Lily's Clefairy route, it seems.
I think this is reasonable. You're going to have to do this eventually.
It is going to be a retreat into the Slow King. Academy at Night can place a Pokemon on top of the deck. There is the Lucky Helmet being attached, so perhaps Trifrost will be his pick this turn.
I think it's going to be the Metagross. Just knock out the active. Like you said, Chip, just go after the energy attachments at this point. Knock out the active. Force your opponent to keep getting energy onto Dragapult EX. This is putting Neddy in a very awkward position.
And that is the route Ross goes. Brave Bengal not necessary with the bench of the Lily's Clefairy EX, hitting for 600 damage into that Dragapult EX. Neddy promoting the Badoo. Does play an Ultra Ball, gets rid of that Dusknoir just found off the prizes into a second Dracloak, and Fire Energy already laid onto Dragapult EX. But Puka, after this Pokemon attacks, Neddy's going to have a really hard time making another attacker.
Yeah, you got to think the unfair stamp is Neddy's plan at this point. Now, Ross did try to brace for that a little bit with the Lucky Helmet. Also has the Mega Kangaskhan EX on the bench. If Neddy could find something like unfair stamp and boss's orders this turn, that is possible.
Or perhaps unfair stamp and jamming tower, but it will be the boss's orders up on that Lily's Clefairy X, and here comes that unfair stamp, sending both players' hands into the deck. Ross will be left once again with only 2 cards, but different from previous games, Puka. He will be able to promote Mega Kangaskhan after this KO. He will have some draw power available.
Yeah, I think the challenge for Ross is going to be he needs to get another Lily's Clefairy after this.
He's already down 1 Night Stretcher, I believe.
I think Neddy's going to go down to 1 prize card after this. You can knock out the active Lily's Clefairy EX, knock out the Slowpoke on the bench. You can even sprinkle some damage counters elsewhere.
Yeah, and that actually is pretty relevant as well, as sprinkling some damage counters on Slowpoke means you can Jet Headbutt it for your final prize card.
Absolutely. So that would mean Ross would need to find another Slowking, just another thing. And he needs to find all of this off of just unfair stamp.
And maybe even a Dusclops works into the mix here, Puka.
The late Dusclops could be huge.
Just thinking through, will fail the first Buddy Poffin and successfully hit on the second, just thinning out as many of his cards as possible. Pokepad searches out the Dusclops, preparing for the potential of this ghost Pokemon.
Yeah, you can see what the plan is for Neddy at this point. Get your 3 prize cards here, and then try to set up just an easy knockout at the end, a Cursed Blast and a Jet Headbutt. You know, if Ross has to use Slowking, you can just attack the active and get your last prize card. Even if he does it, you could just find 1 more boss's orders, go after another Slowpoke or Slowking on the bench. It might put Ross in a position where he needs to power up Lily's Clefairy EX in this situation. Great planning by Neddy.
And a Crushing Hammer, his 4th and final one, does find a heads. That is another huge flip here for Neddy.
Also want to call out that Ross's bench is full currently, but if Neddy goes for this Phantom Dive and takes 3 prize cards, it'll potentially free up 2 spots, 1 for Pheasantipity EX to flip the script, another for Lily's Clefairy EX.
And Puka, we have entered turns. We are currently on turn 0. Neddy will complete this one, and then Ross will have turn 1, Neddy turn 2, and then Ross turn 3. I do believe this game will conclude before those 3 final turns, but perhaps a quick refresher, Puka, on how these top cut time rules work.
Yeah, we're going to get 3 turns. Neddy's currently turn 0. Ross will be turn 1. Then it'll go back to Neddy for 2, and then Ross will have the final turn. And then if the game doesn't conclude by then, whoever has fewer prize cards remaining will be the winner. I agree with you, Chip. I do think this is going to end either way. And a big moment here is, can Ross respond?
Draws for turn, finds a Pokepad, second Slowking.
This is not a great hand.
It's not ideal. He does have Kangaskhan to rely on, and rely on it he may need to do. Can thin out a card that he doesn't want to see with this Pokepad perhaps, but no, will be a run errand initially here. Academy at Night and a Psychic. There is no playability here, Kyle. So much to get to this point, and now Ross, there's no way to KO this active Dragapult. He can attack with Slowking. He can discard a Pokemon, but he will not be able to get a one-hit knockout. There's no Lily's Clefairy play. There's no Brave Bengal on the Slowking. He doesn't play something like the Annihilate we've seen from Slowking players in the past. He has no way to get through this active.
Yep. Annihilate also probably wouldn't be a good idea, knocking yourself out at this stage.
Go down with honor, right?
Yeah, that's fair. Is this the end of the road for Ross Cawthon? This is where the time might not be in his favor. You can leave Mega Kangaskhan EX in the active spot. But now there's the Dusclops, and Neddy will take the knockout on the bench, Slowking, and move into the finals.
What a game. What a set. Incredible play from both of these players. And it is Neddy Kosek punching his ticket to Championship Sunday. He keeps that dream alive of becoming an international champion.
Incredibly played by both sides. Both players had to kind of keep their composure. Things didn't always go their way. Had to figure out new game plans, adapt on the fly, and Neddy was able to pull it out. Got to give some credit to those crushing hammers along the way.
Oh, they certainly helped. They definitely didn't hurt. That is for sure. The one they did hurt, though, Ross Cawthon on the right side of the table, comes up just a little short, but for Ross, he should hold his head high. This is an incredible run for a veteran of the game. He said it himself. He does not play as much as he once did. He does not invest the time he maybe did when he was a teenager. He has other things happening, but always still comes back to the Pokemon trading card game and proves that he still has what it takes to compete at a high level.
Yeah, and I mean, I do want to emphasize that. A round of applause for Ross Cawthon, who is really, truly an inspiration, has been for players for many, many years at this point. Another deep run at a huge tournament was amazing to see. Wow, and also just what crazy games we saw here.
I mean, truly. The incredible resolve of these players. Neddy finding a way back into the game. Yes, he was indeed aided by these crushing hammers, extremely well timed. And then it was Neddy jumping ahead in game number 2 after his game 1 win. It seemed like Ross had no path back in, but this was the key turn. Neddy chose to break that Itchy Pollen lock, and it gave Ross an opening. It was improbable for Ross to pull off this play, but Ross proved it was possible and did just that.
Yeah, the Trifrost on that turn into the Lily's Clefairy EX on the following turn, piecing it all together. Yeah, I think Neddy was maybe feeling some regret after that or wondering where it all went wrong, but then in game 3, the big crushing hammers to slow Ross down and the brilliant game plan to go throughout the game. Wow, well played by Neddy.
And speaking of Neddy, I am excited to hear from him as Emily is standing by on the stage with our first finalist here.